Hey everybody, this is Robert Douglas, and it's time for Deploy Friday. Hey, that code that you're working on right now, it's time to push it to the cloud, please, because it's time to deploy on Friday, Friday being the very best time to deploy. Oh, hold on. Sorry, I was getting my own voice as an echo and it freaked me out. I forgot to close another tab. Sorry about that. Let's introduce the guests. I am here with three amazingly powerful women who are doing their best to empower women in tech. So let's introduce the guests. First, we have Elina Valeeva. Elina, would you introduce yourself and say who you are, where you are, and what you do?
Yes, sure. Hello, Robert. Hello, ladies and all the participants and viewers. I'm Elina. I'm the founder and CEO of Meditivity. We are building a startup in positive behavior change app for people who want to achieve goals and live more mindful and peaceful, less stressful life. I'm also a Women in Tech ambassador in Russia, and I will be happy to share my experience in this with you later on. Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.
Claudia Mendes Silva, how about you?
Hi, I am a girl from computer science, and actually, I am also ambassador for Women in Tech in Portugal. And I am program manager in a large company for digitalization program that we are tackling. And I'm happy to be here with you, Robert, and thank you for your invitation and hope to give you some insights about women in tech and how we are in technology and the female group. Thank you all.
Thank you, and thank you for being here. How about you, Anna Radulovski? Introduce yourself.
Thanks, Robert. So I'm the founder and CEO of Women Tech Network. We are helping women to grow in tech, providing them with mentoring, speaking, and leadership opportunities, and connecting them with career opportunities at companies who are thriving to create the culture of diversity, inclusion, and belonging. I'm also involved in the startup world, in the startup tech world. I'm the regional director at Founder Institute, specifically Founder Institute Silicon Valley Benelux chapter with a strong focus on female founders.
Fantastic. So you help startups get off the ground and get going.
Yeah, to start and build impactful companies worldwide. And it's pretty exciting since we went virtual to include many diverse voices.
Now, I told you that we had some powerful women on the call. That is really amazing. We've got a CEO, we've got a master's degree in computer science from Siemens, and we've got the founder of a tech conference and an incubator. Welcome. So, Elina, let's come back to you first. I would like to know, why are you an ambassador for women in tech? What's the personal reason for that?
So, my journey in this started when I decided with my co-founder to start our startup, and we had no experience in IT and tech industry at all. But we had this passion and the idea of how to improve the world. You know, like every startup founder wants to improve the world and make it a better place. So we wanted to do it, and we at the idea stage, we got accepted to their accelerator, to the fellowship in the US, and it helped us a lot. And during this fellowship, I met Ayumi Muraoki, who is the founder and the president of Women in Tech. And we met at the GS Summit, and the issues of diversity, inclusion, and female empowerment were highlighted at this event. And we had a really deep conversation about how these topics are really well spoken, especially in Europe, in the US, but not really solved. The problem is being discussed, but the problem is not solved. And I realized that in Russia, there is also high demand for such kind of organizations, because at that point, about a year and a half ago, there was no network in this industry. And realized that since especially female entrepreneurship in my country and around the world is so underrepresented by women, we need to do something. And since I'm a founder myself, I feel that this pain. I'm going through this path at the moment, and I see what can I stumble upon, and what can be improved. I can experience it at real time, and I've just realized that it would be much more efficient to do it together and to empower and to build this network, to build this community. And secondly, it would be less scary and more fun, because we're human social creatures, and when we are surrounded by someone with the same values, with the same attitude, who are being there to support us, it's much more likely that we would succeed, and at the same time enjoy this path rather than just pursuing this goal and on this way feeling lonely, empty, and really overstressed. So I realized that it would be great to build a community, and from it's been 1.5 years, and I was right, I can say that.
So this is really amazing what you're saying, because what I heard you just say is that women have shared values and experiences that bind them in a way that they might not share with men. And I actually think I have some insight into that, but I'm going to get to that a little bit later. I wanted to put a pin in it and come back to it because I would like to hear from Claudia exactly the same thing. What are the personal reasons that you have for becoming a Women in Tech ambassador?
So as I told before, so I am a computer science girl. So I have my master in computer science. And since the age of 14, so I'm turning 45 this year. So you can imagine ages ago, it seems ages ago, I was the only girl in the class to code. And when I went to the university, so we were a group of 70 people with 6 at most girls in the class. And they say, wow, this year we have a lot of girls, because it used to be 1, 2 at least. So we were a bunch of them. They were really happy to have more girls in that year. So I had always male teachers. I have 1, 2 at most female teachers. And sometimes I struggle to understand the language and the pragmatic way to put the code in the screen, because it's like if you are a painter, or if you have some kind of art skill, that you have an empty screen and you just draw whatever you want over there and you express yourself in that empty screen. That's the way of coding. And the code from the guys, it seems to be so clean, so well formatted, so easy to read. And mine was reading some and telling some stories in the way, not so straight. And sometimes I was struggling on that, and I was always want to know more, why, and why, and why. And sometimes I didn't get the answers to just connect all the things. And I was a researcher in artificial intelligence. I was in the corporate world, so I faced sometimes it was a bit harder to me to explain things to male, where we have mansplaining a lot in the companies, in the corporate world. So I was struggle to pitch my opinion or pitch my idea sometimes, and also the pay gap. Okay, the pay gap was really a thing that I was facing, because at the same level, doing the same work, so men were earning more than women in tech. And we were really a bunch of girls, geek girls coding, and we didn't have so much role models to talk about these things and to know where we could lead our career on. And back in the university, I was struggling to say, is really this what I want to do in my real life? Because I was learning so much things that I could not relate it. What I'm going to do in real life with all these maths and code and things that I'm learning, it has to be a purpose on it. I need to know what is cybersecurity role doing, what was a data scientist at the time it didn't exist, but what I'm going to do with this kind of learning skills that I'm having over here. And that's why I was looking back and say, probably other girls are striving for that, are really having this kind of profiles, the same issues. And did you know Web Summit just came from Ireland to Portugal? And I met Ayumi Moore here in Web Summit. We didn't have so much female speakers on the stage talking about tech. We didn't have an environment where we can just go with our kids and go there. So I just want to. I was invited.
Who did you meet?
Ayumi Moore. She is the founder of Women in Tech organization, because she was here at Web Summit. Yeah, and we met and we were talking about these kind of things. So we did the Women in Tech Global Awards. It was the first time that she did it here in Portugal, the Global Women in Tech Awards. And she was facing this, and she said, I myself did a transition from another role to tech, and tech allows me to do other things and to reskill myself and have my own company, and I can help other women to do it. And we need more women in the stages talking about that. So she invited me to run the chapter here in Portugal. It was actually the second one to be open officially for women in tech. The first one was in UK, and the second one here in Portugal. And since then, I'm working in that role and helping girls to look into to technology and to see what kind of roles they could have, what is the purpose, and what can they do with the technology they are learning. And to see that he's a choice for them to be in this world and to succeed. And that we have a lot of mentors, we have a lot of people in the community here to help them. And also for the girls that are in university, because we have a lot of people just drop off from the tech since they are in university. They just feel overwhelming with everything and just drop off. So we are helping them also to see what they can do in the future and how can they succeed in this area. So this is my personal give back. So I did all the path, and I am giving back because I understand what they are striving for, what the things they are facing and the problems they are facing on that.
Thank you. So I took away a lot of things from that. First of all, I directly related to your experience as a coder, thinking that like the code was all messy when I wrote it, but when I looked at other people's, it was so clean and neat. Like, how do I overcome that? And like knowing what it all leads to, and I think this is actually a universal thing in tech, is that learning everything that's out there. There's so much, and when you first start, you're so overwhelmed with all the terms, and getting your feet on the ground is really hard. It took me 2 years maybe of studying programming before I kind of like had a framework in my mind of what I was actually trying to do. So I really related to that. But then you mentioned representation right off. So 6 out of 70 people in your class were girls. You mentioned the pay gap, which is well documented, I believe, and really a problem. We even discovered in our own company when we looked at just the raw statistics that we had also manufactured a pay gap and we had to correct. You mentioned communication style differences. You mentioned mansplaining. You mentioned about 7 other reasons.
We have a bundle of it. You can just bundle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, with that incredible description of the problem space, let's get to Anna. Anna, what's your personal path and reasons for wanting to become the founder of a tech conference and an incubator that focuses on enabling women founders?
Right. So my journey with female empowerment in tech started with an initiative which became a nonprofit later, which Coding Girls. So when I started, to research the problem about why there are so few women in tech, and finding myself, being like among the few women that are at tech conferences, especially, I was like, okay, I want to know what is causing that, why there's so few women in tech. And then I was doing the research, and I found out that the problem actually starts in the childhood, when girls are exposed to, to dolls and pink color and all this more like girly stuff, and boys are encouraged to be brave, play with Lego, with trucks. I'm not doing that to my daughter though. She likes Lego a lot. We just bought her. She's 1.5 years, and she really likes it, and she likes cars. And I understand now. I'm actually even more aware of that, how I can guide that, Of course, it's her choice, depends where she would like to develop. And but I know how can I support that, especially while doing the research and understanding what causing the problem. So I started Coding Girls. We organized, we actually announced one workshop, and we turned out to have 2 workshops on the same day, because people actually liked the idea, parents liked the idea. And we organized a workshop for like small girls, which were from 7 to 12. And we built like a basic animation on Scratch. And that was very exciting for them to show to their parents. I was like, well, I mean, they love it and they wanted to come back. And later we did create like a game on Scratch, and they loved it. So I realized that the problem actually starts later, when they start to, consider different careers and who they want to become, and they will become teenagers. And when they are not exposed to role models, they can take another role, because they don't see that that's actually cool, Then I thought, well, we need to organize meetings and to talk about and invite these role models. Where are they? Are they engineers? Are they teachers in schools? And then we started to organize like regular meetups, and we started to have naturally more women, because more role models, senior. Well, we had also girls who've been at university and been working in tech, for example. And later I realized that, of course, girls and women are 2 different words. If we, want to work with girls, it's one thing. But if we want to work with women, and we want to work, in both directions. But I felt like I personally resonate more with women, since I'm a woman myself, though now I have also a daughter. So these both directions are really, I'm passionate about both. But Women Tech Network is something that also came from women who are working in tech reaching out to us and saying, hey, personally reaching out to me and asking for help with CV, help them find a better job because they were not happy. And then companies started to contact us and say, hey, we would really, want to get more women on board. We just don't know what we are doing wrong, and like how we can, do that and support, and like, trying to share the challenge and the problem and why women don't apply and stuff like that. And then we started to dive deeper into the problem and organize different events and think of different solutions, involve different minds. And we've been doing offline career events before COVID, where we've been connecting diverse tech talent with employers who support diversity and inclusion. But when COVID hit, we had to really stop everything. And we took like, not a week off, but something like that. We were really like puzzled and perplexed with my co-founder and the team. And we were like thinking, okay, what we can do now, since everything is like frozen, but we need to react, because we saw that all the conferences are canceled and all the communities, many communities who are in tech, also female focused in tech, they also stopped their offline activities. But we thought, where's the opportunity in that and what we can do? We can do something virtual, right? And virtual at that time wasn't a thing. And we thought, okay, I mean, if we can do that virtual, why not actually aim for something big? Because thousands of women right now feeling the same frustration, and we need to unite and to share that and to share experiences and to, support and encourage each other. And that's how we came up with our mission of uniting 100,000 women in tech and minorities and allies to join our global conference. And now we are doing it already for the 2nd year in June. And and also we've been doing other activities in meanwhile, also awards to recognize women that have been supporting and doing something great during the pandemic especially. And they're often in the shadow and often are not really recognized, for example, or they don't feel like they've been doing a lot. So this like giving them an extra way to say, hey, well, that I actually deserve that I've done that, because sometimes they don't have time managing people, doing the things that they do, or just trying to manage work life. And it's been, challenging for many, and including myself. But yeah, the Women in Tech, the Women Tech Network for me is not work, is passion. And the same, also involved in the startup world. It's of course taking less time than the Women Tech Network, because that's something that I fully dedicated. And we have more than 5,000 ambassadors on board with us who are helping us on this mission.
Amazing. What a incredible success story, because it's all relatively new. None of that's very old, right? When did it all start?
With Women Tech Network or Coding Girls?
Both.
So with Coding Girls, we started like 2017, and Women Tech Network 2019. Yeah, we've been growing really.
In 2 years, from 0 to 100,000.
Yeah. Well, the background with Coding Girls, really helped, since we knew the problem, but it's new, it's when you do and you move and you step, you like test experiments, listen to people, listen to the feedback, listen to their needs. But sometimes when you need to react fast and be bold, you don't know if you win, you don't know if you will unite 100,000 women, you don't know if ambassadors will join when you roll out the ambassador program. But you gotta try, otherwise if you don't try, you will never know. And that moment was really transformational, because many are, the situation, right? You don't need to imagine. So everything like stopped, all the events were canceled, postponed, frozen, and here we come with the virtual conference. It gave people direction, hopes. Many ambassadors shared, like, it changed my life, literally, I don't know what I would have been doing, just being stuck in my apartment. And I just like got on board, and I was powerful. I was actually able to influence this and to empower other women and get to know. We had people from 161 countries at the global conference, or 81 countries. Amazing. Actually, ambassadors from 161 countries. So I can't imagine any event where you could have reached such amount of people, because physically it's hard to travel. Visa, people with disabilities don't often get access, to go somewhere, be it US or Europe, Asia, Africa. So in this case, we've been able to share and unite women, and that's what fascinates me personally. Great experience.
Thank you. So you mentioned something along the way, which was a common theme in what all three of you have just told me in your introductions, and thank you for those great introductions. I think I and the audience now have a better idea of who you are and what you've done. But you all mentioned at some point representation, and in particular, hiring of women into companies, getting jobs, and at some point somebody also mentioned, I think glass ceiling is a concept that, has been talked about, I think, for decades. I remember Time magazine talking about the glass ceiling when I was still like an elementary school child or something a long time ago. So these are not new problems or new concepts. And a lot of people think about women in tech, hashtag women in tech, as primarily a hiring problem. Okay. So now, to relate to that personally, I have to say that I am a hiring manager at Platform.sh. I've hired onto 4 or 5 of the different teams within the company. And I can confirm that if you just for a programming or a tech-oriented job with, like web application developer skills or Linux administration skills or networking skills, if you put an application out there, my experience with our company is that we get something like a 10, 20, or even sometimes 30 to 1 ratio of male to female applicants. And that leaves hiring managers in a very hard position if they want to follow diversity and inclusion guidelines. And Platform.sh also has those in place. Our goal is to have parity between the genders, the male and female genders, to kind of be representative of the actual population with regards to gender. So we're talking just about female and male genders right now. What does a hiring manager do? What does a company do? What's your advice? I think this is maybe the number one topic for a large portion of the audience that is or may be watching in the future when they come upon this video. How do I fix the problem of not getting enough women applicants in my pipeline to be able to achieve my diversity and inclusion goals? Elina, maybe you want to take a stab at that? You're the CEO of a company, you hire people. What's it like for you?
Yeah, I'm running a small startup, but I face the same problem, and I also am struggling with getting more women. And I would say that, of course, it starts and it has roots at the young age, at school, at university, that we need to attract more women, more girls into the industry at first, so we will have more of them at the hiring stage. But what I would like to mention is one research showed that women are more likely to apply for a job if they fit to 100% of all the vacancy requirements. And male applicants, they can apply with only 60%. So it means that women more likely, when they read through the application, through the job offer, they would probably hesitate to apply because of lack of self-confidence, which has deep roots in psychology, in our society in general, and it's a huge problem that stops many women from believing in themselves and from applying and for seeking a better job with a better salary or whatever. So I would say that first, be real. If you're hiring manager, if you're company which want to attract more women, be realistic at your job applications. So don't include all the requirements if you don't need them, because more likely women will hesitate and be overwhelmed. And as I've mentioned, unless they're 100% fit into all the requirements, they would probably do not apply. So
maybe there's also language you can apply to that situation that said one or more of these instead of 100% all of these.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like every vacancy usually has like, I don't know, 7 bullet points of what are required, and they are put in a row of from the most important to less important, and just read through all of them. Don't copy paste from your previous hiring experience. Just take a closer consideration about the persona, the person you're looking for, and it will definitely make room for more female applicants.
How about you, Claudia? What would you say to this problem if you had advice to companies that wanted to do a better job recruiting?
So here in Portugal, we have a recent stats that said that only 2% of the young girls are thinking to do something related to tech in future roles. So this is really a huge problem. If you don't have them in the base and getting into classes and university and taking some boot camps for coding, you don't have them to be hired, right? So the companies are really struggling to find their quota for the gender balance, for the parity, because we need to see that diversity, inclusion, and belonging is not only for gender. It's actually intersectionality of all the contexts we want to replicate inside the companies, the context and diversity that we have in the country, right? Only that we can see fully represented. But for gender, that is an issue, and it's easy to just balance between genders. If you don't have them in the base, you don't have them how to hire. But we have here two problems that we can tackle. We can tackle since the early ages, because you know that by the age of 4, they have the same stereotypes and the same perceptions of the age of 14. So the bias that you found at the age 14, you already find them in the age of 4. So it's really, really important that we have in the education as a foreign language. For instance, in Portugal, we have a foreign language from the age of 6 that is English. But we can have that. It's only not how to learn to office tools in that ages, but learning how to compute the logical way of thinking. And we need classes for that. We need to prepare for the rationale behind the code and the technology to prepare them for the future, because the roles that we have and the professions that we have today could be not the one they will facing in 20 years, right? But at least give them the tools and prepare them to create this awareness. So we have to tackle that. So this is an issue for the governments, not an issue for the industry. What the industry can do is look into the universities, to work more close to universities or in the high school, because in the high school they will choose which area they will tackle in the university, and to show them what we are doing with technology, what is our purpose in the company, what is really our what we are going to do with this technology in the society, what you're going to do if you join us, and show them what they can do. And with that, it's more easier to just relate with tech, because it's if you are a young people, you can just relate and see in real life what a lawyer, what a nurse do, right? What a policeman do. But for engineering and technology, it's like a cloud, a fuzzy cloud that you don't see exactly what you're going to do in your daily job. So you have a computer sitting on your desk, and you'll do something, but it's not clear what you're going to do and with the purpose of it. So I think that the industry. Yeah, do you want to ask anything?
I do. I want to go down into this, being able to imagine what you're going to do with tech idea, because this has been a theme in both of your answers. And it's interesting because, like, when you think about a doctor, you can explain to a young child, the doctor helps you when you're sick. And the person,
I have 3 kids. I have 2 boys and 1 girl. And sometimes they ask me, Mom, what do you do in the work? And I say, I am a computer science girl. And I do help the company to build some kind of products with technology. So I explain sometimes what is the technology that we do that they can see with their eyes and use in real life. And sometimes they look at me and say, okay, you do meetings and calls all day long, right? So
you stare at the computer. I am watching you. I observe you. You stare at the computer all day.
All day. So it's not easy to explain to them what we do in real life. So this is one topic. And for the industry of tech, they don't expect to just give a job description and have 100% fit. And if you don't have the girls to do it, and if you want to just do something for the community, just use programs, use your people, use them to mentor it, create programs inside your company, and just pick people that are unemployed. A lot of women's and COVID just highlighted that so much. A lot of women just lose their conventional jobs, and you can just bring them and pick some of them that are fit for some skills, some basic skills, to just reskill themselves and to offer them a trainee after this mentoring program. So if you want more girls, use your employees to be mentors, use your workforce to do some kind of work with this group of people. And I think this is a way that we can take an action. It's just not highlight, we have problems, we don't have women, and it's just it. So we don't hire because we don't exist. But you can tackle that. You can work close to the universities. You can bring the students into your company to do internships, summer camps, mentoring, job shadowings, and show them what you're really doing and show your purpose as a company, because this generation relate to purpose also. And you can do that for the community. You can help economic growth for your country and where you are based, to create this workforce for people that are employed and they are really struggling to put themselves in the market again. So technology and code could help these girls to do it.
Thank you. So I asked you, Elina and Claudia, what can companies do to help get more women into the company? And what I heard was that you've got to increase the funnel. Okay, you've got to get more girls coding earlier on and interested in tech, and that part of the problem there is the representation and the role models that exist now are not showing them what that would mean for them. They can't imagine what it would mean, what their experience would be going in that direction, so it doesn't become attractive to them. And I also heard a bunch of other things, but that seems to be a big problem. Also, that you can actively, as a company, take your destiny into your own hands and kind of compensate for the lack of funnel by retooling people who may have been leaving other jobs or jobs that are going away because, I don't know, because times always change, and the industries, some collapse and leave all sorts of people stranded, or maybe there are lots of reasons why people retool. Maybe like me, they just decided as an adult to get a different career, and tech is an attractive option for that. So thank you for those answers. That was really great. Claudia, I want to come back. I want to come back to something Claudia said, but I want to ask Anna a direct question about this. So Claudia had said that there's a kind of a bond between women in a group that can't exist between men. And now, full disclosure here, I know Anna offline, whereas I'm meeting Elina and Claudia for the first time, and Anna and I are new parents. So Anna's daughter is 1.5 years and my son is 10 years. And my personal observation is that despite COVID and the three of us, my wife, myself, and our son, being in the same home, and despite my wife and I both being career active, and despite our best efforts to try to divide the workload in the home, a disproportionate amount of the parenting falls on my wife, if for no other reason, and if this were the only reason, it would still be a very large reason, that he's breastfeeding and he takes hours of her day, hours eating. She gives him all the time he needs to eat, and he takes it. So I end up doing my work day, and she ends up taking care of him. We can't get a babysitter because of COVID. So I thought, when I heard Claudia say that there's this bond between women in at least some way that can't exist between women and men. I was wondering if you see that too, Anna, and if you see that as a true fact, because I can imagine people listening to the show thinking, come on, that's a sexist thing to say, that women relate to women differently than men. But no, come on, it's kind of obvious to me as a parent. What's your experience with that, Anna? What do you think?
I think it's like, if we touch the theme of working mom, for example, I could probably relate to her and the challenges. Even you and your wife as working parents, I could relate to that. Perhaps women are more empathetic in general, so for them, they could relate more and they could share more and they could support each other. Though I've been facing different things from women, from some comments on like a millennial girl running this foundation, like from something like, I don't see a problem. I was speaking once at a conference and one girl said, I don't see a problem. Why do we need more girls and women in tech? And I was like, perhaps you didn't face it yourself, but just look, I wanted to say, just look in the room. We have like 90% of the guys on this conference. And there were like a couple of guys who were with long hair. I was like, okay, these are guys. So, I mean, this is the situation nowadays. And yeah, we want to believe that this thing will change in the future, but I think COVID kind of decreased the efforts, because as you said, you cannot get a babysitter. When my daughter was, basically it was last June, my daughter was that time 6 months old. I had to get a babysitter. I didn't have a choice because I had to say Women Tech Network. She was small, it was hard, but I had to get a babysitter real quick in like just 2 weeks. I knew that I was risking, but at the same time, it was only me who could have taken that load. I was still with her. The babysitter was at our place. I also outsourced different things, delegated different things. My mom came also to support for the time she could, but she couldn't travel because she was in another country. It was COVID, so she couldn't really travel to us. She lives in another country. So I had to, online shopping, food deliveries, robot vacuum cleaner, whatever helps. You try to be creative and to find different ways of how you can make things work. And I made them work, Of course, my husband, who's also the co-founder, has been supporting a lot. And the team itself was working very hard, so with the ambassadors. And it takes a group effort. It takes a support network. And that's why it's important to have those networks like Women Tech Network, like Women in Tech, like other professional networks, because when you have a challenge and you go to ask for an advice, you will receive, in most cases, support. Of course, you might be knocking someone on LinkedIn and they won't respond to you because they are solving themselves some problems, But in most cases, you will get a response, and especially if you're part of the big or growing network, or even sometimes a small and supportive network in your local community. But just by sharing and participating in different events where other women are sharing, and just like even sitting in the audience and nodding to yourself, like that's also happened to me, or like that's actually what is happening to me. And I think that also the power of all the women tech focused communities and women focused communities, where women can discuss the different challenges that they're facing, and maybe even share how they can support, or like introduce, for example, if someone's looking for a job, maybe they can introduce them their company. And I wanted to come back also to the hiring aspect, as you mentioned, why women don't apply. So there are a couple of reasons for that. For example, we still see different job descriptions, like looking for a rockstar developer or something like that. Believe me, women most likely won't apply to this job. I don't know about you, I'm not referring anything. But like,
I know
when
we
you
were
mentioned,
rock stars.
so
You can be a woman rock star. I don't like that term to begin with. I never use that. Okay, it places a huge expectation, like you're supposed to be some hero, and who wants or needs to be a hero. Yeah. Right, but Rockstar's not gender biased, is it?
Rockstar. I mean, it's kind of, maybe you don't consider yourself to be a rock star, or the terms like also dynamic or challenging, or something like, women, for example, the words like collaborative or together, they would encourage women to apply for a job. But that's only one part of it, because everything is available online. For example, if a company doesn't have a good representation, they could check you on Glassdoor, they could check your Facebook, see your ratings, see your reviews. Everything is available out there. So a company should take care of this, their social media presence. They want to make sure that they ask the employees who feel good and like work, and hey, please leave us a review, how you feel, how can we make, also ask for the feedback. Sometimes you just need to ask, because just being silent there, and it's not that people don't want to provide, they don't know that you might need that. Also, it's good to feature different stories. How is it like to work at your company? What kind of women and family friendly, women friendly, that is like flexibility benefits are you providing, or like paid maternity leave, different aspects like that. So sharing about your company, how you supporting women, communicating that message. It's also being attractive, because let's say your job post is also cool, they see it, but they will Google you, right? Because they can, and because it's easy and it's fast, and I'm curious, what are you? The project sounds interesting. And I think that what Elina also mentioned, that women don't apply unless they don't meet 100%, that's absolutely true. And actually you don't want them to apply if they meet 100%. And you know why? Because they will be overqualified for this job. And of course, you want to hire someone who is actually going to grow with you, to grow professionally, to take on some challenge maybe in the beginning. And I also hire people, and I hire people often. I know they won't fit 100%, and I made this mistake also once when I created this super job description that I was looking probably for someone like myself together with my co-founder. We're looking for a team member, and we created this super cool, job description. I was like, wait, the person we are looking for is like us, but we are going to hire this person. This is not like another co-founder who will commit, I don't know how many hours per week. This is different. Sometimes the requirements are unrealistic, so no one is going to apply. They will be even scared. Like, what is this? Like, I can't be this person or something like that. And then still people will apply, and you want to be considered also, to be open-minded and consider the attitude, but that's already a different story. And what I also found useful is to proactively reach out to people, and inviting them to apply for the job post. That works better. So it's one thing, you just create this job post, another thing when you actively reach out and invite people, and you increase your chances to, of course, select the person that, and in many cases, women also want to be invited. I tell that because I organize events, many events, and once one woman didn't, not just once, a couple of times, several women didn't show up because they didn't receive like double confirmation for us that they were accepted to the invite-only event, and they were not, I assume if it was a man, they just like show up and like, here I am, I have the invitation, I don't know where it is. So, and women sometimes just want, don't want to be annoying, or don't want to be, just troublemaking or anything like that in that fashion. And that's when they also don't feel confident to apply for a job that they are not ready yet for. From my personal experience, I've been doing lots of things that I was not ready for, including like running this conference last June. And like, I think that's how you grow, and sometimes I was not ready, like maybe 40% for that. And now I understand that that's how you grow. When you go for a challenge, when you find yourself in an uncomfortable situation, if you're too comfortable every time you do something, that you need to take another challenge and to grow. So that's the same with that. It takes also it takes time to educate women how to maybe switch their mindset and to think of different opportunities in different ways, because it takes us as parents, for example, to upbring our children in a way that we introduce them to the diverse group of people, talk about equality. I think these things like new, and like, for example, even these things like an employer who is supporting diversity and inclusion. Yeah, it's becoming, I think, right now more like a trend with the whole things like Black Lives Matter or other movements that have taken place. But it should be like part of the company's DNA. All the companies should try to be to live this diversity and inclusion and to create this atmosphere of belonging, for the sake of better products, of better employee job satisfaction, or it's just the right thing to do.
Totally. And I'm glad that you brought that up again, because I did want to give a general call out, and thank you, Claudia, for also mentioning this, to the intersectionality aspect of this, and how it's very clear that the Women in Tech and Women Tech Conference movements both consider the allies and other minorities that also have underrepresentation or other challenges that come along with their identity in terms of entering the workforce or being successful. And I just want to pause for one moment to imagine being a ethnic minority woman who has then the double challenge of overcoming maybe racial prejudices or racial stereotypes, as well as the challenges that we've established face women, and also for non-binary gender people who then don't necessarily automatically find their allies on either side of the cisgender aisle, right? Like, who do I turn to for help? The cis men or the cis women? where am I? How do, and there are people out there, maybe even watching, who get the trifectorate whammy of being, you know, an ethnic minority, a non-binary gender person, you know, and that's kind of 2 in 1, and trying to get into the tech force. So I wanted to call that out, but I actually, before we run out of time to address it at all, I want to ask a different question, because I noticed that there's one thing that has been absent from all of your answers completely. And I just want to check, is it really absent, or are we just not talking about it? And that's sexual harassment. Is that a problem, keeping women out of tech in any way?
I don't think so. I think it's a thing that you can face it. It's you, Elina. So sorry.
So sorry. Go ahead.
I think it's general. It's a thing that it could happen in any job. It's not a thing that it's related to tech. We have it in every aspects in every industry. So it's not related to tech. In my opinion, in my personal opinion, it's not a thing that it's pushing away the women from tech. What we can face in tech, it's actually when we reach the position of decision maker. It's really hard to be there. It's not a sexual harassment, but could be some kind of jokes about it. Some aspects. Sometimes they expect you to behave like men in the power. You just shadowing and replicate the way of management, a way of the men manage their team to succeed sometimes. And if you are facing like more empathetic as women, you could see as weak as a decision maker. So I think it's not the sexual harassment topic, at least in my opinion, at least here in Portugal. It's more these masculinities that we have in the higher positions that we are facing. So sorry,
Elina, what did you want to say about that?
Just your
No worries at all. I agree with Claudia. It's a general issue. It's probably not a tech related issue, but I would say it's rather many women, they face harassment at universities rather than companies. And it's a problem that I can hear a lot about. And also it's rather sexist and biased behavior and jokes rather than harassment. But we also can say that even verbal harassment and verbal sexist jokes, they could be, from one perspective, also be counted as harassment. And if you're talking about that, yes, it is represented in tech industry also. And another issue that I've been told from the community that I'm a part of, that in Russia, like many women, they have tendency to look more feminine. And when it happens, when women, they go for, I don't know, for a job interview, or they started working at the company, they try to change their style and they try to look less feminine, because if they like wear dresses or skirts, it doesn't have to be short skirts or whatever, but like how they look, people are question their expertise and question their professionalism based on their looks. So that's also an issue.
I've seen this, by the way, exactly that point that you said. I followed a Twitter thread where a very dynamic young woman, I think from America, who's in tech and maybe makes Twitch videos or something like that about coding. I don't remember precisely, but she has a fairly large following and is also very successful in her career. No, She's successful, but she was in between jobs and she had announced she was looking for jobs. And she had, if I remember the situation correctly, she had as her profile picture a picture of her in a very tight blouse, and it showed her very feminine figure, you know, not unlike what you would have seen on Facebook. It was not inappropriate. It was not sexualized in its intent or in its you know, composition. It was a picture of a person like you would see on the street, but she was dressed very nicely, and she's a very pretty woman. And there was an enormous string of comments on that about, hey, you know, you shouldn't be like selling your body to get the job, and you know, like nobody's going to take you seriously in that outfit. And so that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. It's a bullying, and many women there who I know a girl who she used to be a model. Then she became a software developer, and she started her blog, and she faced so much internet bullying because of her look, because of how she wants to represent herself. And people either men or women, they apparently have better understanding of how this particular woman should look like. And it's unfortunately an issue. And many women, they try to fit in, and they try to change how they look and how they want to look in order to be considered as professional.
Anything to add to that, Anna?
I think that there are different, you know, books, videos that are encouraging women to behave in a certain way, you know, to be more assertive, to be more confident, not to dress like, you know, more feminine style. But what in fact needs to happen, that workplaces need to change to be able to accommodate women, men, non-binary, all kind of diversity representatives. So then we can, you know, utilize the power. If you're afraid to be yourself at work, how can you work well, you know? That's, you wear the clothes that is uncomfortable. You don't feel like yourself. You need to pretend that you're non-gay because you don't know how your colleagues will react, you know? So all this kind of things. So how can you be like productive every time you're thinking what people will think, you know? Or like, will they judge me, or everything like that. So, and this is, I think, counterproductive. I think that's when the company should set the tone in a sense. These are our values. Inclusion is our value. How do you understand that? You know, equality is our value. How do you demonstrate that also? How is your company talking about that? How diverse is your leadership team? You know, like very often also connects to hiring. Many leadership positions, they are not even announced. They rely on referrals, you know, and even if they're announced, there is no guarantee that they will be considered, because again, they rely on referrals. So if the leadership team is, you know, male and like white and male, then that's most likely that another person who will come on the team will be also white and male, because they will refer them, for example. So you need to make sure that also the people who are in your leadership team are also diverse. So diverse voices could be potentially heard also. And regarding the sexual harassment, I think that many cases are also left, you know, not reported because women are afraid. Who will protect them? Some people just won't believe them. How can you prove that? Do you have a photo? Do you have a video? How can you prove that? It's like her word against his word. And this is like hard really to get a confirmation unless you have someone who saw you, for example, who can actually stand for you, because often they also could be silent because they're afraid. And yeah, I mean, there are some countries where women have less rights, and and very often they even cannot show their photo online, or like they cannot do a video call, or they cannot do a video presentation, for example, even remotely. So because they are not allowed for whatever reason, they need to protect their face or their identity. And that's also, maybe technology in a certain way made it easier for women to join conversations also, like be it a conference or a webinar, or take part, or write an article, speak up. That's, I think, part of the change that is happening nowadays.
Thank you. Wonderful. Okay, well, we're close to the end of the hour, so I'd like to wrap up. Did anybody feel like we left anything on the table that we didn't address when painting the picture, a general picture of the situation of women in tech today?
I think that we tackle everything, right? The young ages, the reskill, the problems, the connections that we need to have between the private organizations and universities to work together. And I think that, and also the government. So I think that we tackle everything. It's really a big issue. You don't have
It's a huge
just
issue.
a magic. You don't have the magic tool. You don't have, sometimes they request for us, and I'm facing sometimes these kind of issues. Tell me what is the solution. If I have it, I will be rich because everyone wants to know it, right? They want to apply it to the organization. So when they request our help, look, I want to hire more girls. I want to do something related to tech to help more girls to be here in this field. How can you help us? And I need to say, okay, what is your pain point? Because every company is different from one another, right? So we need to see what is your pain point. So where are you right now in this field? What is the things that hurt you more as a company? And we don't have a recipe. So we need to see this as with high lengths. We need to bring this to the table and discuss how we can do baby steps to do it. But we need to do as a group, as a community, governments in the industry, the younger education, the parents just play a big role in the lives of the kids and the young generation. And we have to bring this into a discussion, like a council board in the government, just to have that discuss every single month and take an action. But especially take an action, because we are fed up of people talking about the things and say, okay, we have the problem, but when we ask you, we need some kind of support, people, resources, money to do a program to bring more women to your company, they say, oh, it was never thought about it in our portfolio, in our budget for this year. We support totally, we are with you, but they don't take an action. And please consider to help these communities that we are here, three of us, and we are working in the field, and we need your support to do that. So please take an action and put some kind of a budget aside, because you say, that's important, because we are doing work for you. So we are helping you to have a economic growth to the country and to tackle a lot of issues that we already talked about over here.
And that's a powerful message for us to end the show. Thank you, Claudia, for putting it so clearly. Take an action. Take an action. All right. So Anna, Elina, Claudia, thank you so much for joining me today. I thought it was an amazing conversation with lots of insights, and you all are doing an incredible job in going and making the world a better place. So we can only thank you for that. So thank you, and thank you for watching and listening, and see you next week on Deploy Friday.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.